And I'm going to tell you that you feel free to come and go at any point. My point today, my purpose in doing this was because I sat down to do a video for you, and I felt so ridiculous talking to myself. So I thought I would throw it out there, and if you wanted to join me, you could. But all I'm going to do is go over the SIP and the SCIP. And the reason is this. You have already done the hard part. You have already done 1 and 2. And hey, Travis, and we just need to knock out 3 and 4. And you can do that this weekend. And if you get that done, it is over with before you even think about starting the CAP. So that's the whole reason I scheduled this little meeting last minute. I apologize for that. But I wanted to give you some work for the weekend because I didn't want you to think you just had nothing, you know. Second thing I want to clarify is that on your syllabus, it does say that the CAP is done first. Your due date for the CAP is first. And then your due date for the SCIP comes later. And I am not contradicting Dr. Sanders' syllabus, but I did ask Dr. Lamb if I was allowed to let you do this first, and he said we certainly could. He wasn't sure why it got in the syllabus that way. That's the way they used to do it. But back then, they didn't do one artifact at a time. Before the group before you, they would do like part of the axle and part of the aptel and part of the CAP and part of the SIP. It was, and we got a lot of bad feedback because you get all messed up. These things go sequentially. So I think while you have your mind on the SIP, we need to move forward with that. And I don't think Dr. Sanders has any objection to that. I just think that's the way that she had done it in the past. And that's the only issue with that. So let me take you to my screen. I'm going to share my screen. And we are going to look at what I have on the SIP. And of course, I had it all open just a little bit ago. Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to start by reading a common mistake that happens with the SIP. 3. So SIP 1 and SIP 2 are done. And now you're getting ready to do 3. And some of the things you're going to find in 3 are repetitive of what you did in 1 and 2. So let me look at this page over here. So SIP 1 was your needs assessment. You had 2 parts to that, I think. And then you led your team to do an organizational analysis. And then in SIP 2, you identified the needs. You did the fiscal and as well as the physical human resources that you needed. You did short-term, long-term objectives of your plan. And all the resources and the money that you needed to sustain this plan long term. That was 2. So now 3, you're going to take it to the next phase, and you're just going to write it out as a plan. So you're taking information from 1 and 2, putting them together to make your plan for 3. It will be called a marketing plan. And you're going to develop that based on the results in 1 and 2. And you're going to put those together. Now, you'll find as you look at the rubric, you will find that some of it you can basically copy and paste the information from 1 and 2. But when you do that, you always have to be really careful. It's usually easier for me to type it over because if you skip one of these things and your eyes don't read it correctly, you'll leave something in there that's wrong. And here's a common mistake. So this was a comment that I wrote. Actually, this narrative is well written, and the information that you found in the research about your school's strengths and needs in the gap is appropriately cut and pasted from previous 2 tasks. The initial paragraph, though, that addresses the purpose needs editing. When you do SIP 3, the purpose of it is a needs assessment. And so when you talk about the purpose of the needs assessment, you need to directly address that. I mean, not the purpose of the needs assessment, the purpose of the marketing plan. You need to write specifically, this is what this plan is for. This is why we're developing this plan. And not just copy and paste the purpose from SIP 1 or the purpose from SIP 2. Now, I'm going to pause just a minute and ask you if that made sense, because I know I said it kind of jumbled up.
No, I get that.
Does that make sense? Does it make sense to you, Leslie? Okay. Marilyn? Okay.
Can you say that one more time? Sorry,
Okay.
this is Carrie. I'm
Hey,
joining by
Carrie.
phone.
Sure.
Hey.
So what you want to make sure is that when you have an artifact like this that builds on the other parts, each part asks for the purpose. And like when you did the axle or the actel, the purpose was pretty much the same. You were always looking at student achievement, always looking at teacher empowerment. The skip is a little bit different in that you have 3 separate components. And so when it asks for when you start out writing the purpose of SCIP 3, the marketing plan, the purpose of this is, you just be sure that that paragraph directly addresses why you're writing this plan. Not why you did a needs assessment, not why you did a resource, thing, but why are you doing a marketing plan? That's all.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. All right.
All right. So what I have here, and I will copy this and give you a copy of this, but it's not really for publication. It's just some of the notes that I use myself. So anytime you send something out like that, I just don't want it to get around that this is Dr. Zayon's best work, because it's not for publication, but I don't mind sharing my notes with you. And so basically, when you get to 3, you are taking the results. The marketing plan takes the results from the needs assessment, the organizational analysis, and the resource identification, and puts those things together in the form of a plan, how we're going to roll it out. So you're going to begin with the statement or the purpose of the marketing plan. And if you read through the rubric and the directions, it'll give you that pretty much. You're going to start out talking about the strengths of the current program. And you're going to talk about how this marketing plan can enhance the image of the school within the community. So remember, that's what you're trying to do. You are trying to strengthen the relationship between the school and the community and enhance that. You're going to identify opportunities for the community to be involved in school activities, such as concerts, theaters, athletic contests, academic challenge events, and other social gatherings that would bring them together. So you got it in 2, 1 and 2, those things, those activities, that's where they're listed. And you're going to expand on them in a narrative form. Then you're going to talk about how you're going to implement that. Are you going to advertise it on the web page? Are you having a community session where you're going to present it? Are you rolling it out on your school website, teacher's web page, however you're going to do it? But use a variety of methods to implement it. Include a timeline, because some of you have activities that are going to take place over 2 years. And then a component that shows how you're going to get feedback to find out if what you're doing is working. Are you going to measure the number of responses you have on a web page, or the number of times people have clicked on it? Are you going to do a survey? Are you going to keep a number of attendees at different things, and so forth? All right. I'm going to breathe and you focus on that, processing it.
So you said you were going to send us this information?
I will send it to you.
Okay.
I'm going to start right here at skip 3, all of that right through there, and I'll send that to you. Okay. But I pretty much took it from the rubric. All right. So before I take you to 4, let's just make sure everybody has an understanding of 3. Do you see now why I am saying that you can sit down this weekend and write this? It can be done. Do you have questions about it?
I have one question. I know from my Scip 2, you had mentioned that I may need to go back and put some things in a table format.
Yes.
But you said to go on with it and see if it needed to be done once I submit it. Do you think I should do that before I move on to Skip to the 3rd task, or just continue on and with task 3?
The reason I recommended a table format for 2 reasons. Number 1, if you have it in a table format, then it's very easy for you to form your paragraphs in Skip 3,
Okay.
because every entry in that table, every row, can become a paragraph. So like if row number 1 is have a public concert, then your first paragraph could be public concert, and write a paragraph about how you're going to do that. If 2 is that you're going to have teachers update their webpage every week, then that would be your next paragraph in your marketing plan. Do you see? So that's why I suggest the table format, is it makes it easy for you. Second thing is, I love to make things easy for the evaluator. And so if you have things that they're looking for, very specific things, and you have a table that shows the activity, the physical and human resources, and the other things that you were asked to present, who's responsible, and what the timeline was, it's very easy for them to check your paper. So, and some evaluators will send it back and ask you to put it in a table format. Others don't. So I don't have a strong feeling either way, Carrie. It does not.
I almost feel like I did what, if I'm hearing you correctly, I feel like I almost did the paragraph format of the table in Scip 2. So should I, what I mean? Should I change
you're right,
my
Carrie. I remember yours, and I think you're right. I think if you look at it again, you need to take some of 2 and put it into 3.
And put it into 3, and just create a table for all of what I was explaining in task 2, and put a table in task 2. Okay.
Right.
I might see if maybe you could, I might see if maybe I could call you.
Sure. And 2 is not just the table, but right. But that's a good summary to it. But yes, I do think you're right. And if you call me, be sure. In fact, are you heading home?
I am. I'm in the car.
I'm going to be in the office for about another hour.
Okay.
So if you get home in the next hour and you can send me a copy of it, and we'll talk through yours. Okay.
Okay. Sounds
if
good.
it doesn't work today, you can try me later.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Dr. Z.
Anybody else?
Yes, Dr. Z, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so since we are, I'm the one of the students that will be coming to your class from Tillman's.
Yes.
Okay, are you going to review the Skip 1 and 2?
No.
To make any suggestions, or we should just move forward?
The beauty of this is because I read it already when I graded it. Remember? So, but if you want me to, if you have some questions about it, but let me tell you this too. And I almost feel like I need to have a meeting with your group separately. Dr. Tillman is the only coach that proofreads papers. The rest of us don't, because our loads are too big, and and that's not our responsibility. It's your responsibility. But she did a great job, a great service to you. And so, but she's the only one that does that. So I don't proofread your papers. The second thing is, I have a little different philosophy. And I don't want you to think I'm slack. It's not that in any way. But my goal is for you to be proficient. When you go up for licensure or a job, nobody but you, TaskStream, and the good Lord know the difference between whether you made a 3 or a 4. And usually the amount of work involved between a 3 and a 4 is substantial. So the purpose of these artifacts is to teach you how to function as a principal when you have a problem in your school and you need to analyze that problem, create a plan, and address it. That's the purpose. And we're giving you some very good tools to do that with. So I won't push you beyond what you need for a 3. If you insist and you want to do the 4, I can certainly look at yours again, but that's a little different in our philosophy for that reason.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure in case I had to make some revisions or,
Right.
Before moving forward, because I didn't want to have to go back and redo it, later
Exactly.
if there was something happened that you noticed, because when you was telling the other lady, I can't see her name.
Yeah, Carrie.
Carrie, that she should use the table format, I started thinking, did I do that? And that made a lot of sense.
Right.
So
Why
I was
don't
like,
you
oh.
send it to me if it's not a problem? I may still have it. But why don't you email it to me and I'll look at it. Can you email it to me today?
I can.
Okay. I'm going to try to take tomorrow off, but I'll be working today.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll look at it and tell you. That's a good
Okay.
question.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have a question about 3 before I go to 4? Great. Okay. 4 is going to get a little sticky. And I'll tell you why. TaskStream. It is so hard to get back to where I need to get in TaskStream. I'm going to open it back up. What I'm going to do is take you to TaskStream. Amanda, can I use your competency folio?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'm going to
on
use
mute.
I'm going to use it as an example, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right, so new TaskStream and log in. They're in the process of loading everybody into TaskStream, so it's been real ornery today. Okay, so as a cohort, you are fall 2017. That's your group. When you get to number 4, task 4, if you will go to, it's rather, if I give you a list, you may be backtracking. And I'm going to show you why. Because different professors sometimes are off a little bit on the competencies that they request you do with the artifacts. And then each time you get to choose 4 of your own, remember? So you are all at different places. So if you look at this one, for example, right here, it says that in communication, you need an example from the APSL, the SIAP, and an open-ended, which means it can basically come from anywhere. So here Amanda has one from the APSL, check. She doesn't have one from the SciAp. She has one from the APTEL, but that's not one of the requested ones. So she's going to have to use the APTEL as her open-ended. And then she'll have to pull one in from the SciAp. If you go to the next one, APSL, check. APTEL, check. And then OMA is what she used for her open-ended. So she's finished with that one. I'm going to go until okay, here's one. All right, this one needs an example from the OMA and the Scip. So in task 4, Amanda, customer focus is a definite one because it has the Scip on there. And I will send you the list of the ones that definitely have either the Scip or the CAP. Split through. This one has the CAP, so you can go ahead and do it too. So in task 4, you're going to do any of these competencies that have CAP or Scip out beside it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So we use the ones that say CAP for the CAP and the ones for SIP is for the SIP, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure.
But you're including it all in task 4.
Oh, okay. So we can't, so
for example, but see, the CAP is so much of what you've done in the SIP that you're going to be okay. So like this is environmental awareness. So even though you haven't completed the CAP yet, you can reflect on your experience of using it, you know, for everything around you. You've got to be aware of your community. You've got to be aware of the demographics, and you have to be sensitive to all those needs. So, so you can label it the CAP, and that'll be fine. But these are the ones that you're going to address. So I'll send you a list of those for the SIP, what to include in task 4. But then you're going to add the others in, so that will be the CAP, the ones from the CAP, and then any others that you have open. Now, at the end of this course, you're going to have all 3 of these in here, right? So many of you already have finished a lot of these competencies, except unless they have CAP or SIP out beside them. So I will try and help you with some overall, which ones you should include. But I'm just saying that if you start to do one and it's already been done, don't do it a 3rd time. If you already have these 3, once you have those 3, you're done with that one. But this is the only place that it gets a little sticky. But when you do the CAP, task 4 in the CAP is not reflection on the competencies. Task 4 in the CAP is an activity. Does that make sense to you? That's why I want you to get this finished. The CAP has 4 components. All your others have had 4, but the 4th has been reflecting for your competencies, not the CAP. It has 4 actual parts to it.
That's why we're doing the reflection piece for the CAP and the SIP together.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So if you look at the CAP, it's looking at the different areas of your, like the cultural analysis, environmental analysis, leadership analysis, I think. So when you reflect on these competencies, you can reflect from that perspective. Does that make sense? So you don't have to finish the cap to reflect on the cap. Talk to me.
I got you.
Does that make sense to you, Amanda?
Yes.
Marilyn, are you good?
Yes.
Leslie?
It makes sense.
Okay. And Christy?
I just chimed in.
Okay. We're just talking about the competency folio. I have it pulled up here. And when you go back and listen to the video from this meeting, if you have any questions about what I just went over, just give me a call or shoot me an email, okay?
All right, thank you.
Carrie, you still there?
Hear me?
There you go. You still
Yes,
there?
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Does that make sense to you?
Okay. Yes, it does. So, is there a total of how many competencies we should have for?
There are 21
SIP 4?
competencies. You do 12 each semester.
So we'll do 12
12.
for SIP, and it will be for the ones for SIP and for CAP.
That's correct.
Okay, and plus if there needs to be more, because I think are there 3 each?
Yes,
Is that correct?
that's
Okay,
correct.
and then the other 6 will be whichever ones we need to fill in.
Right. So
Okay.
what your mother is telling you is, if you go through your competency folio and there's one
Right.
that had Axel up there and you didn't fill it in for some reason, you chose something differently, get that one out of the way because you've already done it. Now that's not going to be part of your SIP 4, but while you're doing your competency folio, go ahead and get that knocked out too. The best way to do SIP 4 and the competency folio is to, for example, what's this one? Global perspective. Write your reflection for SIP 4 on the global perspective from the cultural advocacy piece. And then immediately go to your competency folio, paste it in there, and upload your evidence. You're done with that one. So what's happening is so many people are doing that task 4 and they're going to paste it in there later. And later gets later. And then it's cold. And you can't remember what you were going to use to upload as evidence. And it takes twice as long. So, so just think about a different approach. And everybody works differently. Some people are very sequential and very linear and have a very specific way of doing it. And that's fine. You might surprise you, but I'm kind of one of those random people. I just do it all at once. But anyway, but if you have any questions, if you will shoot me an email, a text, send me a text to tell me you sent me an email if I'm not in front of my computer. If it's something that you're working and you need a response, then I want to do the best I can to give you a response right then so that you can move on. Because I know when you block off that weekend time, it's precious. And I don't want you to be bogged down because you didn't know how to get over that bump. Okay? That's really all I wanted to go over. I do not want to get into the CAP yet. I think you've got enough to deal with, and I don't want you to get confused. And too many times when you start trying to do those 2 artifacts to get up, because they are so close, they are very, very closely related. You're going to feel like when you do the CAP, didn't I just do that? Because they're very closely related, but the perspective is just a little bit different. And it's a very important difference. So that little tweak means a lot. But I don't want you to try to do them at the same time and let it all get mushed together. Okay? All right. Well, unless you have any other questions, I'm going to let you get on to your Friday. But I'll stay here till everybody hangs up.
Dr. Z, I did have a question. I don't know if I missed it, but where exactly are the due dates for each piece?
There aren't right now.
Okay, thank you.
There aren't. What I'm trying to do, Christy, is to get you to finish off your SIP and get it done as quickly as possible. And I thought while you have this long weekend would be the perfect time, because you already have all the data you need. You're not going to have to gather anything. You don't do this one with the team again. You just write it. You're taking the stuff from 1 and 2 and writing it. Okay? But by next week, I will give you some deadlines for some final deadlines for the CAP. Chrissy, there's a little bit of confusion in that your syllabus says to do the CAP first, and then the Scip isn't due till like week 7 or something. And I feel like you need to do the SIP first. And I don't think Dr. Sanders, that doesn't matter to her one way or the other. And I checked with Dr. Lamb, and he agrees with me that it's best to finish one before we start the next one. So,
I'm sorry. The only reason why I was asking is because Dr. Sanders is not wanting only our Zoom policy, but a Zoom schedule. So that's what we were wanting to do as well.
okay, so a Zoom schedule for your artifacts, is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I got you. All right, so just tell her you don't have well, I tell you what, if you will look in, I can tell you what week it's listed as. And if you'll just leave the SIP off of that and do the CAP, she doesn't have it coming up until I think it's like the 3rd week, right? I believe. So will you just tell her, she and I can get together. So as far as that schedule goes, will you just tell her that I haven't given you the dates yet?
Yes, ma'am. I'll let her know for that, because she does have on her syllabus to do the policy and the schedule.
And the schedule is due to her by when?
Week 2, it says schedule and policy meeting for Zoom. So we actually have to meet next week as well to talk about our peer review schedule, and then of course the team policy form.
All right. I will, what we're trying to do is switch the SIP and the CAP, but I haven't had a chance to really discuss that with her. But I have talked to Dr. Lamb, so she and Dr. Lamb need to get together. So I would rather you not do it. You don't have to do it over. So I will send her an email right now and just tell her that I talked with him and that I'm going to come up with the schedule, but that I haven't given it to you yet.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think the syllabus stated the CAP was due week 8, and the SIP was due either week 13 or 15. Those numbers are sticking in my head for some reason. But if it could be reversed, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wanting to do, is to see if we could reverse and have the SIP on the 8th, but it's too late to me to wait and do the CAP the 13th and 14th. I would rather you do it something like the 11th and 13th.
It does say week 8 and 15.
8 for the CAP, for the SIP?
Yeah, 8 for the CAP, 15 for the SIP.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask her if we can just reverse those. I just think that.
Can you see this, Dr. Z?
Yes. Yes. All right. So I will send her an email and ask if we can flip those. I know it's okay with Dr. Lamb, so I don't think she will object at all. Okay?
Okay.
And as soon as I get that answer, I will let you know. Thank you, Christy. Anybody else? Well, it was great seeing you all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you need me.
Okay.
All right?
Go get
Thank you.
Sounds
Thank
great. I'll be here until the last one leaves.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.